is that everybody who was supposed to be here is here in this room tonight. So I believe that God has a word for you. I don't know what it is and what He's going to speak through me that might resonate with you, but I know that you're supposed to be in the room tonight. Can I give a shout out to Novi real quick, y'all? Let me tell you why what Novi did tonight really blessed my heart so much. I told y'all last week that I'm finishing up my dissertation. Yeah. And my research is about African American women who went to Title I schools, which means high poverty schools, but still went on to earn at least a bachelor's degree or higher. Okay. And so as part of that research, I've gotten the opportunity to sit knee to knee with academically successful Black women who went to inner city schools and said, how did you do it? What supports did you have? How did you make it despite all the odds to matriculate and get this degree? One of the main things that came up in this research is the church. Wow. Learning early how to speak publicly. Learning early how to hear a lesson and do the high points. Learning early to have people like Sister Tracy in their lives who I get up, I don't really know what I'm doing, but I have that support from the bench telling me what to do. And not only the warmth, but also the heat. And the sister saying, okay, that's enough. All right, let's wrap it up. We need both. We need the support and we need the pressure. And we got all of that in church. And I can tell you right now, if it wasn't for St. John Missionary Baptist Church, 2620 North Fifth Street down on the Nickel, I would not be standing here today. The number of times I had to get up unprepared and do the high points and get up and sing songs I didn't remember the words to and all of those things. So let's not take for granted what the church does for our community and what the church does for our youth. So thank you, Novi, for stepping out and doing what you did today. Thank all of you all for your prayers that went forth. I am so glad I get here early enough for prayer meeting too. That really, every week, it just really blesses my heart. Okay, we are going to, am I ready to project? Oh, there we go. Everybody needs a Brother Clarence in their sound booth, I'm telling you. Everybody, you just literally, you think it and he already own it. Thank the Lord. Yes, he is. We talked last time about leading with the loyal heart to God, and here's where we are now. We talked last week about our posture, our heart posture. We have a little bit to finish up as it relates to heart posture. Right, Sister Portia? We got assessment. Okay, we gonna finish that up. And then where we are today, I advertised for y'all last week, is we're gonna do some practice around actual strategies around all of this philosophy. That's one criticism, as much as I love the Black church, that's one criticism that I take very seriously. We sit and get a lot, and we don't always apply with actual real life application that you can leave here and do tomorrow. And so I want today to really be about you leaving with some of those strategies that you can implement right away to increase the likelihood that you are leading with a heart that is loyal to God. How does that sound? All right. Here's the first thing we're going to do. I am going to whip around really quick. Operative words being really quick. So like 2 seconds for every participant in here. And I want you to do one of two things. If you were here last week, I want you to tell me any one thing you remember from last week. Not a dissertation explanation, just I remember this, okay? And if you were not here last week, I want you to just speak to one goal that you have as it relates to improving your effectiveness as a leader. So if you were here, something you remember. If you weren't here, one goal that you have for yourself as you think about being a better leader, okay? All right, we're going to whip around really quick. This is going to take us 5 minutes, okay? If you weren't here, one go. Let's give everybody let's just be quiet and still and give everybody about 45 seconds to think about what they're going to say when Sister Portia put that mic in your face. Everybody just take about 45 seconds to think. Okay, I cheated y'all a few seconds, but we can start. All right, were you good to start? Uh-huh.
If I had to prove myself, effectiveness as a leader, it would be to be more consistent.
Be more consistent. Awesome. Good. Behind you. Yes. Absolutely. Thank you for lifting that. It's okay. Absolutely. Good. Thank you. Just give us what? Clear is kind. Awesome. Yep. And being all the way. Yep. That was one of our norms. Thank you so much. Yes. Okay. That's all you're going to give us, sis? Okay.
Gave up on praying and, went through his illness without praying for healing.
Yes.
Yeah.
Absolutely. Good. Thank you.
Identity as a leader.
Identity as a leader.
Having more patience with people, just because I got something and I remember something, like when I'm with the over the women's choir,
Yeah.
I get a little impatient because I'm like, they should know this. We done sung this before. So I need to work on my patience.
Okay. All right. Good. Thank you.
Have trust in God that He could change your situation.
Absolutely.
Be on time.
Okay. Yeah. You remember that from last week? Okay.
I too,
We're ready.
I too remember, remember King Asa, how, the people loved him as far as they're concerned. He was a good leader, but he missed the mark with God because he didn't tear down the high places.
Good. Good recall. Yep.
Intent versus impact.
Yes, indeed.
That happened to me today.
Okay. All right.
You know how Google, when you say Google call or Siri call, and sometimes Google is looking at the name differently. Like my name is Carol. I get called Curl quite often. That is not my name.
Yeah.
But so I called someone and I said the person's name, and Google called, and I said, maybe your name should be this. And so it offended the person. And at the time, I apologized and I called back. I didn't say that was not my intent. I said, I want to make sure you heard when I said I apologize to you, because names are special. They're
Absolutely.
very important.
Yeah.
And even mispronouncing a person's name could be impactful.
Okay. Yes, it can. Thank you. All right.
I forgot what I was going to say.
Wait, why are we skipping you?
I'm bringing you.
Okay. All right. All right. No worries.
One thing I could probably improve is, as a leader, is maybe listening a little more.
Absolutely. Good. Thank you. got it.
Getting permission, knowing if it's okay for us to be honest, or if somebody's just wanting us to express to them. I can't say it the way you said it, but basically, being who you are is great sometimes, but sometimes people don't want you to give your opinion on the situation. They just want you to be loving and caring and hug them, let them express.
Asking people how would they want us to show up. Yes, absolutely. I know where you were headed.
I wasn't here, but I'll probably say time management and patience.
Okay, all right. Two important things.
Yeah, sometimes as leaders, sometimes we take on too much, so we got to know when to say no.
Is that your goal? To know how to say no? Okay, all right, good. Did we skip you? You did.
Everything about Asa's story stood out, but the thing that stuck out the most was just that two things coexisted in his leadership and about how God sees it and how it was so pleasing and so unpleasing. And then that the leadership goals that I have align with what you said about it taking a lot of mirror work and humility. A lot of mirror work and humility.
I kind of forgot what mine was, but it was more, I could still be warm and
Heat. You can have heat and warmth.
heat and warm. And so I learned that.
Yeah, absolutely. We got two more.
I wasn't here last week, so my goal would be improving my commitment and then my like being on time.
Okay.
But Tracy did talk to me in depth about it the lesson last week.
Okay. All right. Thank you,
and
Tracy.
One of the things that stood out to me from that is, what do people say about you being a leader?
Absolutely. Yeah. That's important.
One of the things that, I got a lot of things, but one of them I would say is God wants us to be interdependent.
Yeah. Talk about the difference between interdependent and independent.
Interdependent is when two or more people mutually rely on each other while maintaining individual autonomy, balancing personal needs with shared support. And independent is you just want to do it by yourself on your own with no help.
Absolutely.
from you.
Absolutely. With your own vision and everybody get on board with your plan. Okay, Kia.
What I can improve in an effective leader, being a good listener and not moving too fast in the conversation, trying to give my own thought about it without them finishing.
Wow. Okay.
You know how you move fast in the conversation because you want to answer, you want to answer you want to give the your opinion about what they're talking about too fast without them finishing. I'm going ahead of the conversation, moving too fast, thinking too fast.
Absolutely. One of the most essential things that undergirds love is listening and knowing how to be an active listener. And if while somebody is talking to you, all you are doing, all your cognitive energy is going toward what I'm going to say as soon as I get a minute, you are not listening. If your cognitive energy is going to me too, then that's called I listening. And so getting to a point where we can actively listen to each other is such an important demonstration of love. Okay. I want us to have a minute. You will not get to finish. I already know this is the portion. Do they have the hard assessment or the? Yes. Okay. If you need something to write with, y'all know I travel with my office supplies. So if you need something to write with, let me know. But I'm going to put about 6 minutes on the timer. And I want you to take an opportunity to take this heart posture assessment. Okay? And we're going to do a little bit of debrief as it relates to that before we move on to today's content, do a little practice around today's content, and wrap up. We will not get done with all that I planned today, but the good news is we got one more week, right, Pastor? Yeah, we got one more week to finish up, so I'm not gonna rush it. I'm gonna make sure you process. Our norms, as always, be all in, say the thing, no hogs and no logs. And if you have questions or comments or concerns, please feel free to interrupt me at any time. I am not worried about that. Anybody needs something to write with? The timer is on about 2.5 minutes. The timer is on about 1.5 minutes. If you don't get to tally, that's okay. Let's try to consider each of the questions. Don't nobody feel like doing math this time of day. yourself about 35 seconds to finish up your thinking. All right. As a result of considering each of the components on this assessment, I want you to really focus on and be able and willing to share one of three things. First of all, that mirror work that Sister Tiffany reminded us of. What is one inner thing that you know you need to change to align your posture, to have more of a heart posture for loyalty and leadership? That inner thing. The second thing is the leadership shift. How do other people experience you in a way that may be problematic despite your intent? Now I'm scared to say your name because I don't want to mess it up. Carol. Carol reminded us of that intent and impact. And so how might you be impacting people in a way that may need to change? This is all on your handout, by the way. And then finally, every time I come to Hope House, we talk about this notion of an accountability partner. I always say, like the kids say, who gonna check you, boo? Who is it that you, Tracy gonna check you, she said. Who is it that you give explicit, not implicit, explicit permission to say, pull my coattail when you see me out of line? If I exhibit this slippery behavior, nudge me, sis, let me know. Don't let me just operate in my blind spot, because clear is kind. Clear is kind, absolutely. Okay, so what I want you to do is, as you think about all that I just said, one thing that it would really benefit you to say out loud to someone else. And I want you to stand up, find a partner anywhere in the room, preferably somebody you haven't spoke to today, and look like a pair, and then I'm gonna tell you what I want you to do. So stand up, find a partner, get together like a pair, preferably somebody you did not come with or haven't spoke to yet today. Okay. Who doesn't have a partner? Okay. Sister Portia, you got a partner? Yeah, I do. Yes, ma'am. Okay, do we have an odd number? You get to be my partner. Yay. All right. Share with your partner. First of all, let's lay some ground rules. Sister Kia reminded us that we are always practicing being better listeners, okay? So when your partner is talking, you are suspending what you're sharing, and you are really opening up to hear what they have to say. You're going to share with your partner either an inner shift, a leadership shift, or who you think you want to be your accountability partner and why. Not all three, okay? You're going to pick one of those things to share with your partner, and then you'll switch, okay? Okay, so it's on your sheet. An inner shift, a leadership shift, or your accountability partner. It comes right after the assessment. We just talked through it, remember? Okay, pick one of those things. Yes, sister. Something that you need to change personally that has nothing to do with you as a leader, but everything to do with you as a person and your identity. Remember, that's a good clarifying question. Remember last week we talked about the difference between identity and reputation? Yes. So here's an application of that. What might need to change about your identity? That's the inner work. What might need to change about your reputation? That's the leadership shift. And then who's going to hold you accountable? Yeah? Okay. Have that conversation with your partner. Uh-oh. Okay, you get to go first.
I get to go first? Okay. Well, I'm going to deal with the accountability thing. first time that you brought this out, I chose someone.
Okay.
But I guess it hasn't worked.
Okay.
Because the person never has said anything. And I know the person loved me, I know the person, all of that.
Yeah,
Can
yeah.
check me.
Yeah.
But there is nothing. So I think maybe I have a problem with finding somebody to be accountable to.
Got it.
You know what I mean?
Mhm.
And this is why I think maybe
Take about 30 more seconds.
you can help me solve this because my position, I think that a lot of people are looking at me a certain way, and for me to choose them to be accountable, well, I'm training them.
Yeah.
And so it's hard because the one that I did choose, I feel is where I'm at and even above me, but it just haven't materialized.
That makes perfect sense. Can I address that whole group when we come back together?
Yeah.
Okay. All right. Good. All right. Tell me your name again.
Ron Smith.
Ron. Okay, Brother Ron. All right. If we could come back together. Take a minute. Wait. Take about 30 more seconds to maybe hear from your partner. Literally 30 seconds, though, and then we'll wrap up. Okay, go ahead. Take your 30 seconds to finish up. All right, and if you are finished, thank your partner for their thinking, and you can head back to your seat. Thank your partner for sharing. Thank you, Brother Ron. All right, just a couple people before we move, because y'all know I like to hear your voices and hear what you're processing. Just a couple people before we move. Something you said or something you heard or something you thought as a result of taking this assessment that you think it would benefit the larger group to hear. Something you said, heard, or thought based on this assessment or your partner share. Yes.
I got one.
Okay, and
Sorry, the inner vows.
Okay.
Those oaths that we have taken and the walls that we have created. There's still those high places that we're creating in our own heart.
Absolutely.
That keeps us at a guilty distance from God.
And yeah. Oh, yeah. I'm glad you told me that. Yeah. Now I forgot what I was going to say now that you said that. Sometimes we look at King Asa and that story, and because his high place was out and visible, we forget that most of our high places are internal. Those are the things that we really haven't dealt with and really torn down. And God is saying, I see your loyalty, but I also see that you got some places that you haven't invited me into yet. So yes, thank you so much. Mm-hmm.
Me and Sister Alice shared the same thing, actually.
Mm-hmm.
And that is surrendering of control.
Okay.
Control as a leader in our family. I was saying we was mainly on that, but just leaving, letting things go. Not want to be in control of everything.
Absolutely. For sure. And our final one.
Just the inner deal with me is just how you can say what's the word? Being condescending.
Oh, okay.
Toward people innerly. I don't do it outwardly, but inwardly, like, man, come on, catch up. You know what I'm saying? Come on with, get with the program. And I do it, and sometimes it can leak out into because of my disposition. You know what I'm saying? And I want to be different in that area.
Absolutely. And may I offer to you that it probably leaks out more than you realize. Not just for you, but all of us. When we're thinking a certain thing about a person that we think we are masking, people understand that energy They know that your actions are not lined up with what you are actually saying to me. And we think we're being slick and manipulative, but more often than not, people peep game. Like they really understand that there's a misalignment here. And so thank you so much for your vulnerability and for sharing. One thing that I wanted to talk about as it relates to accountability. Sometimes we are in situations where we can just wait for accountability, where we can just wait for the person because the person we chose is super zealous and they're going to come and get every opportunity to give us feedback they can, they will. Other people, not so much. So that puts us in the position to solicit feedback. So to go to a person and say, hey, I facilitated that meeting earlier today. You got anything that was a blind spot for me that I could have improved? You heard my exchange with sister so-and-so, and you know we're trying to forgive each other. How was my tone? How was my authenticity? Is there anything that you would lift? And so sometimes we're in a position where we don't get to wait. We know exactly what it is we're working on, and so we got to go and solicit the feedback. And solicit it from people that you are willing to hear it from. Don't come ask me for my feedback and then be defensive. That meant you wasn't ready to ask me anyway, right? So pick somebody that you are willing to learn from. Yes, sir. Yeah. Yeah, yeah. Mm-hmm. I applaud you for being aware of it because a lot of people aren't. A lot of people think they're fooling people. So you just gave us an opportunity to say out loud, we're not fooling anybody when we're thinking condescending thoughts and then saying something different. And then also this notion of asking for feedback. I want to say one other thing before we move deeper into today's content. It is up on the screen. Most of the time, what people experience in this ministry is predicated on you. It's not always, we have this idea that it's the person in the pulpit. It's the folks with the formal training. It's the choir director. How many of us know that the choir members have as much responsibility for creating a positive culture as the choir director? And so often, you are the ministry. You are this ministry for a lot of people. What people think about hope is what they've experienced with you. And so we all carry the responsibility. And let me bring it up even bigger than that. We are kingdom ambassadors. Beyond hope and beyond any other church, we are kingdom ambassadors, and we are representing who? Absolutely. And so everything we do when we say that we are an ambassador of the kingdom reflects back to God. Yeah? Okay. Tiffany, you wanted to share what?
I'm really glad that you said the last thing you said about soliciting input.
Yeah.
I just want to share something real quick that happened to me recently. I've been working with someone as a mentor, and then there was an event. Okay, so in this instance, they're young, but it has nothing to do with them being young, needing to get this debrief, right? This debrief, she never even heard of it, doesn't make sense to her, but then she's just accepting it on the strength of who I am in her life. But she was so not interested. Mm-hmm. And I could not express enough how critical it was to hear feedback from the people who served you and who worked with you throughout the process to learn. But some people, and there was a lot of other dialogue, but this is something you identified early when you first started today, is some people don't want others' opinion, and I just find that to be a very dangerous place. Mm-hmm. Because it's not about necessarily pleasing them, and it's not about everybody needing to give you their opinion. But if you can go throughout life and no one can give you feedback, you're riding alone.
Absolutely.
And then you literally have no counsel Because the Lord even warns us about that
Absolutely.
all the time.
We talked about that last week when we talked about the 3 different selves. So I'll remind you what they are. Past self, current self. Who remembers the third one? Aspirational self. You got some good old notes over there. Don't tell me your name. Yeah. Leandra. Thank you, Leandra. Your aspirational self. And yes, your past self, your current self, and your aspirational self. People who will not receive counsel are stuck in one of those 2 other selves. They're either stuck in their past self or they're so committed to their current self, they won't aspire to be anything different than they are. And they lead to stagnation. That means you have topped out on your growth when you don't have an aspirational self. And so an aspirational self says, I'm confident in who I am, but I would also like to be more patient, less condescending, a better listener. And I always have an aspiration at the forefront. And guess who also knows my aspiration? The Lord and your accountability partner. Your accountability partner should be as aware of your aspirational self as you are, because otherwise you can renege. You can slide back into your old habits with nobody there to hold you accountable. So your aspirational self should be clear to you, and it should be very clear to the person who you have deemed to hold you accountable. We talked about, I want you to think about what I talked about you may not control the culture because you stand up here every Sunday and preach, but you do control the culture by how people experience you as a leader and as a person. They experience your presence. When you show up, your emotional temperature impacts the room. So when you show up, what do you bring in the room with you in terms of your emotional temperature? Your presence matters. Your patterns matter. What you do consistently impacts the culture. Tell me your name. Portia's brother. Anthony. Anthony talked about the need to be consistent. If you are hit and miss as a leader, that impacts the culture. And then finally, your response. How you handle difficulty impacts this culture. How you handle conflict impacts this culture. When we talked last week, I was proud of y'all. I said, does it align how you say you show up and how people experience you? And y'all said, yeah, absolutely. And I was glad about that. But I want to offer for you, that's probably when things are going good. That's probably when things are running smoothly. We don't confront those derailers until it's high pressure. We got a lot going on. We are tired. Even when we are bored. When we are bored, we can or complacent, we can fall into some of those derailers. So I've been sent here to help you illuminate and address those hard times, the conflict times, not the times when everything is going well. So I want you to just lock in on that for a second. And I want to talk about this framework. Everybody that you lead, you should be able to see, you should be able to speak to, and you should be able to serve. And by see, I mean, can you tell what's really going on beneath the surface? If Bishop comes in and he's short one day, can you look beneath that and see underneath the surface, oh, it's a lot going on right now. Maybe he has a lot on his mind. Sister Tracy comes in and she doesn't have that normal smile that she always has. Can you look beneath it and see, decide not to get offended by the behavior, because we're looking beneath the surface to really see the person for what's going on. Not that that's going to give us an excuse to come and show up any kind of way, but to give each other grace and understanding, especially as a leader. Everybody is not called to do this level of analysis. But as a leader, you are called to try to look beyond the behavior to get underneath the surface. You are also called to speak, meaning you are the person, leader, that has to say what needs to be said with clarity, with courage, and with care. And we are going to talk about, before we leave today, we're going to talk about a way that you can do that. But it is your responsibility to speak. It's also your responsibility to serve. So many times in all organizations, not just the church, we get so caught up in just making sure things are done, making sure things are moving, that we forget we are called to develop people. We are called to facilitate growth. If every time you make a mistake, you leave me feeling condemned, I'm not helping you grow. If every time you make a mistake, I take it from you and say, just forget it. You just go sit down. I'm not developing you. I'm simply, I'm in a transactional relationship that's just moving things forward. A people developer say, talk to me about the barriers. You didn't follow through on what you said you were going to do. Is there some kind of way I can support you? And I'm going to help talk you through that process, and I'm going to stay long enough to make sure you're clear about the next steps, and I'm going to let you keep doing it. And then I'm going to check in, and we're going to keep on until we don't have that issue anymore. That's a people developer. And if you're going to be a leader, now if you're just going to be a participator, again, you're not called to this level of deep analysis. But if you're going to be a leader, you got to know that you are serving and actually helping people. I want to skip to this slide because this is so important. Because so many times we are gifted in one of these things, but not all of them. And this is not a call for perfection. This is a call for awareness. So I want you to decide, do I regularly do all three of these things, see, speak, and serve? Or am I more gifted in one area than the other? I will tell you right now, although it is my job, people pay me to be a people developer, in my personal life, I struggle with this. I struggle with control and perfectionism. So if you don't do it right, guess what? Exactly. I will take it from here and I'll meet you the next time because it's such a hard, it's hard. It's hard when you, and I'm thinking less about how do I build this lesson in the person so that they don't struggle with this next time. And I'm thinking more about ego and urgency. That's what derails us every time. I can do it better, and I ain't got time for this. And every time those two things come up, stop and ask yourself, is there a better decision for me as a leader so I can be a developer and not just a mover? Yes, Sister Carol.
All three in order to be a good leader. Now, when I say 2 out of the 3, we got to be honest with ourselves to say what are the 2 and then work on the 3, or do I just have to have all 3 right off the bat?
I'm lifting to you that it takes all 3. I am saying that you're going to be better at certain things than you are others, and so you might not be hitting on all cylinders on all 3 now. But the standard is to be able to see, speak, and serve in your leadership. Because this slide says it all. If all you do is see, you have empathy, you understand people, you understand everything that's going on, and nothing changes. Everybody's happy, everybody, ain't no conflict going on, we love each other, but there is no progress because all we have is empathy. If you only speak, but you don't consider these other things, the empathy and the development, then you can be direct but damaging. So I can tell you the truth, but I can tell you in a way that produces defensiveness instead of growth, right? And so then if you only serve and you don't have the other 2, you helpful, but you unclear. Nobody's learning anything from you. We moving forward, but ain't nobody growing. And so the goal is, how do I see, speak, and serve in every situation, particularly when it comes to leading other adults? Yeah? Questions, comments, or concerns as it relates to that? This answers your question, Sister Curl. We need all three. And alignment in all three of those things will produce people who feel seen, heard, and developed. And you know what that leads to? Stronger retention. People they gravitate toward feeling seen and heard and understood. I just read this new leadership book that highlighted this research that said people can be on a job and be completely burned out or worked very hard. But if they feel like they are being developed in some way, they are more likely to stay around. So despite the difficulty, I'm growing and I'm developing, so I will stay here. People can be making great money, great benefits with easy work, and they don't feel like they'll be developed, and they'll leave. They will absolutely leave. So people development is an important part of this. It also brings me to mind, it takes me back to Novi. So often we preach to our young people, come to church. You gotta come to church. You should be at church. And at that age, and probably mine too, they thinking, and for what? What exactly am I developing by coming to church and being in the proximity of what's going on? Beyond praise and worship, which is essential. It is essential. They should leave feeling a sense of development. Because I am a part of this, I am better at X, Y, or Z. I wouldn't be as good if it wasn't for my participation in X, Y, or Z. Not just for attendance, but for actual development. Yeah? One other thing that we are going to do, and then I'm going to have us practice for a minute and we'll be done. We'll pick up where we left off next week. I want to really hit on this for a minute because we had a really good discussion about this last week. You need to not only know what to say, but you need to know how to say it. And last week we had a great discussion about direct versus niceness. And that I discovered as I was reflecting on that is the wrong comparison. That's not the comparison I was trying to highlight. The comparison that I'm trying to highlight is the difference between direct and developmental. So by developmental, I mean, is it growth focused? So you can be direct, but are you saying it in a way that gives people a path forward? And I also want to highlight that both of these are necessary. Both of these are necessary. I think I told y'all one of my favorite norms is just say the thing. Just say the thing. But say it in a way that by hearing you say it, I feel a path forward. Okay? So I'm going to give y'all, Sister Portia going to give y'all actually a story to take home that I really want you to do for homework. And I want you, how many people going to do the homework for real if I give y'all my good old handouts? Okay? And the reason I want you to do this homework is because it is a biblical anchor and a biblical understanding of what I mean by this direct versus developmental. And I feel like it's so important because a lot of the content that I share with you can seem like it's void of biblical substance. And I don't want you walking out of here thinking that that's the truth. So I pulled in a biblical example of what I mean by this direct versus developmental, and I'm going to voice over it just a little bit, and then I'm going to talk you through your homework, what I want you to do for your homework. Directness addresses the issue, but development grows the person. Yeah? Somebody respond to that. What would you say to that? Directness addresses the issue, but development grows the person.
So,
yes, ma'am.
But my problem is, I think the people have been growing. It was the way I was raised. My daddy was direct. I've been direct. I drove a school bus for 20 years. I see some of my students to this day that's 39, 40 years old. Oh, I remember you, Miss Alice. You didn't play. You were cool, but you didn't play. I was a foster parent for 8 years. I didn't play. I was direct. The job I got now, we have a school called Arrowhead. Those kids are in Overland Park, the white kids, they get away with murder. But when they on my van, I'm direct. I don't play. And I got to work on being direct and soft at the same time.
Yeah, absolutely. Or some people don't require and they don't respond to softness. So that's not the opposite of direct. The opposite of direct is, from what I said to you, do you see a growth path? Do you know what's next? It's not necessarily I got to soften it or say it, with syrupy sweet. But I do have to provide, and I think when y'all read this story of Peter denying Jesus, one of his closest, Peter denied him 3 times. And the way Jesus responded to that betrayal was a perfect example of development versus direct. He was direct about it, but the way he handled it, that's what I'm lifting that we have to do as leaders. Jesus' example of this development. So Brother Anthony has something he wants to share with us.
I was just going to say, because this was one of the things that I shared with Sister Tiffany, that I would need to work on, as far as identity, is that because I like to receive things directly, I often dish them out directly. And it can come off, blunt and usually, for the most part, I'll have, good intentions with, behind it. But sometimes I don't. But like I will say that like I recognize like my aspirational self, right? And the people around me, they do too, because like on Sunday, Sister Iris came up to me and I feel like she saw me. She
she spoke to you and she served you.
And she served.
Okay.
Good job, Iris. And I feel like Sister Iris is one of my accountability partners, because like I can be myself with her, and she knows like even if I tell her a situation and I tell her how I respond, usually she'll let me know like, yeah, that's not how you should have handled that, and she can directly tell me that, but it's the way she tells me.
Because the goal, y'all, is that the message lands. That's the goal. The goal is that the message lands and that the work gets moved forward or the person develops. And so I'm willing, first of all, let me just say this. You can't be loyal without sacrifice and change. If it doesn't require a change and a sacrifice, then it's not loyalty. And if your goal, Brother Anthony, is for the person you're talking to actually hear the message, you are willing to adjust it based on who you're talking to. So some people, you can be as direct as you like to receive it, and it's no love lost. We're going to go hard in the paint, and then we're going to go out to dinner. Other people, however, cannot respond to that directness. And somebody said it up, Sister Bus Driver Alice. Sister Alice said, so much of this is steeped in how we were raised. It's not because we just want to be overly sensitive or overly direct. We were socialized to most of these behaviors that we have. And so being willing to meet people where they are because we want the message to go forward, that's such a big part of this. And you are definitely an outlier, because I will tell you in my experience, this is just my experience, y'all, so don't get mad at me, all of you direct people. People who claim to be so direct are typically the ones that you cannot talk direct to. They give directness. Yeah. It's so the truth. It's so the truth. They can give directness, but But they are not the ones that, yes, Sister Carol, I'll let you. Okay.
And soft on the inside.
Hard on
They're
the
jelly beans.
Absolutely.
In
So
the name
I
of
want to
Jesus.
give it to you direct, but when it comes to you giving it to me, I need you to soften that thing up a little bit. And so, yeah, I just want to offer that maybe we ain't getting it as direct as we think we getting it. I'm going to go to Tiffany, then we'll come here, and then we'll, not everybody's like that, but I'm just saying, yeah.
It's the truth. Not everybody's like that, but I think that is something that you grow to.
Yeah.
I think you can be, it takes me back to the Asa story.
Yeah.
Two things existing, they coexist. I think that you can be direct and still not know that you are operating in a dangerous kind of path, right?
Yeah.
I think that you grow to that. And then ultimately, I think that it takes all kind, right? Yeah. Our churches and our workplaces are a combination and elixir of so many different types of people. Yeah. And if we are not conscious of the many variances that need to exist in order for those places to exist, and as leaders to be able to conduct conversations with them all and still have productive outcomes, we are in trouble.
Tiffany, that's such an important point, because if everybody act the same, you have no diversity, you have no innovation, you just got groupthink. And I often tell people, if everybody agrees 100% of the time, somebody stop thinking. Most of the people in the room stop thinking, and we just group thinking with the loudest person that we think has the most power. And so we need diversity of thought. We need diversity of behavior. We need all those things. So we have to figure out how to coexist with it, because without it, we are stagnant. We can't grow. Yes, sir. I'm going to take your point and then we'll.
I think that directness to me is the best. I love being direct. I like for people to talk to me direct. But like the sister was saying, I had to grow to that, because I had to grow to, first of all, if I'm being direct and somebody responds in a negative way, I had to, in the moment, choose not to be offended, and then deal with that in a way that we can figure this out, and then leave with some type of solution or some type of understanding of where we need to be at. It's the same thing you're saying. It's just this is something I had to learn over the years. You know what I'm saying?
So let us leave with a strategy that we're going to layer on top of this homework that you're going to do. What you going to do for homework? Read this story about Peter. Yep, about Peter and Jesus. And while you're reading that story, I want you to be thinking about this idea of direct versus developmental. And then I also want you to be applying this tool. I want you to practice this tool somewhere too between now and when we come back next Tuesday. With that same pencil and paper that you took the assessment with, I want you to write down SBI squared. SBI, and then a little 2 by the I to indicate that the 2 is squared. Okay? SBI squared. This is going to be the feedback framework that we're going to practice, okay? So as you're writing, I'm going to voice over each of these. So the S, and then I'll give you an example. The S is the situation, the specific context related to the feedback that you're giving. The B is the behavior. It describes observable behavior only, not character traits, not trying to diagnose somebody's motive because you don't really know, and not trying to label emotion because you don't really know. The I is what was the impact, and then the next I is an invitation for a conversation.
I love
okay?
That.
So that could sound like, tell me your name, Michael. That could sound like, Brother Mike, when we were in the meeting yesterday, I gave an idea, and you very quickly disagreed and said that it wouldn't work. The impact on me is I felt like you didn't consider what I had to say, and the rest of the team didn't get an opportunity to hear my thinking. Did I misinterpret something about what happened? And then how can we move forward so that this doesn't happen again? So that's different from Mike don't like me. He's rude. I know he never did like me. He's evil, and the devil's in him. He's demonic. I can't believe the way he acts. So, and I'm saying all that to everybody but Mike.
You better say it. You better.
Everybody but the person who can do something about it.
Yes.
But if I come to the person and don't, it's a difference between you always disagree with me.
Yeah.
What am I gonna do with that when I know I don't always disagree with you? I need a specific situation and a specific context. Yesterday when we were in the store and I asked you a question about X and you were short in your response, the impact on me was I felt like you were ignoring my whatever the impact is gonna be. Let's have a talk about this. Did I misunderstand something? What do we need to do to go forward? So I've given you a specific situation, a specific behavior. I've told you how it impacts me. So as the receiver of this feedback, I don't get to start talking about my intention. I don't get to start talking about, well, I didn't mean it that way. You just took it that. It doesn't matter in this conversation how you meant it. It only matters in this conversation how it affected me. That's what I need you to hear. And we can have a conversation in our second eye about how you intended it. But first, I need you to hear the impact. Okay? So we're going to think about somebody that you need to have a conversation with because something that they have done, you suppressed the impact on you, and you really want to illuminate to them how this is impacting you. But I also don't want to present this as it's only useful in negative situations. Because it's also useful in positive situations. Sister Portia, when I showed up last week without my sister, who's normally my armor bearer, and you stepped in without being asked and stepped in and took her place, the impact on me was I felt seen and supported, and I just really want to thank you for that. And so rather than, Sister Portia is wonderful, she can do no wrong, I have given you a specific, I showed up, you showed up, I felt supported, and then we can move on and duplicate that skill set when we move forward. One more thing before we get ready to go. I talked about last week and I didn't go into detail. Also, don't be the type of person that always got some feedback, because we're going to run from you. If you always come and talking about, I want an SBI, I have some feedback that I'd like to give you, go away. So I'm asking you to be selective and strategic when you have these conversations, because sometimes they aren't the easiest conversations. And you're going to wear people out if you got one every week. Okay? So I want you to think about these 3 Ps before you decide to approach an SBI conversation with somebody. Will what happened do permanent damage?
Okay.
If I don't address this, it's going to set up something permanent that's going to make it hard for us to come back from. I'm not going to let that just go. It needs to be addressed. Is it something pervasive? Meaning it's happened over and over and over, and it might even be minor, but I let it go the first 6 times. Yeah. And so this 7th time, I'm feeling like this is a pervasive pattern, and I probably need to address it so we can put an end to it. Or last but not least, and I don't ever want to minimize this, is deeply personal. So somebody else might not think it's a big deal. But for me, for whatever reason, it struck me as a deeply personal thing that I want to address. Y'all, if it don't fit those 3 Ps, at least one of them, then just sleep on it and pray about it, and let's just move on. Let's just move on. Because sometimes when you start digging deep into this personal one, you might just decide, I took that too personal. And you might decide, I really don't think they meant it that way. But sometimes you have to stop and give yourself a chance to process those 3 Ps. And sometimes you'll come out with, yeah, that hurt too deep. Regardless, I'm going to have the conversation. But the point is, we don't always stop and think and be strategic when we go to have these conversations. Again, the directness is needed. We can't avoid the conversations, but the development is also equally important. And if you don't have this type of strategic structure to these conversations, you miss the development piece. Can we stop right there till next week? All right. I'm going to pass it back over to Bishop and remind you of your homework, and I'll see y'all again next Tuesday. If you didn't get a handout, you can see Sister Portia. She's all on top of it. She'll make sure you get what you need. Thank y'all so much. I love y'all to pieces, and have a wonderful week. I'll be back next Tuesday. Let me stop messing with Brother Carol's mic. Brother Clarence's mic. I'm ready, Bishop.